So this is the homework for cells and movement. Across the membrane, I'm going to be fairly quick on this because there are a lot of pages to get through. So the first question is to simply label this diagram, and we've done that there correctly. From the list, name two structures that can be found in a plant cell for 2 marks. I've given you 3 there. Okay, so these you need to learn. And then this one is just simply given the function for each one. Okay, so pause that video if you want and have a look, but that should be fairly straightforward. Let's minimize that. And then the next one is worth discussing about because the cytoplasm was quite easy to see. The cell wall, in my opinion, C, was quite easy to see. The cell membrane, even, B, was quite obvious. The nucleus, the dark patch in the middle, was quite obvious. But if the chloroplast for me is either going to be a vacuole or a chloroplast. Now, the fact that they're close to the cell wall and cell membrane suggests that they are the chloroplasts. And having checked with people then, that it is hard to see a vacuole under electron microscope. So it is chloroplast in this case. The other reason when it comes, the other reason that it's going to be chloroplast is when you come to this question, give a reason why you think it's a plant cell is because it contains a cell wall and it contains the chloroplast present there. Okay, so it's going to be a plant cell for those 2 reasons. And then it even says down here, identify the cell structures that are usually found in this type of cell but can't be seen under this micrograph. Micrograph just meaning the image from that electron microscope. Well, we can't see the vacuole because they don't come out very clearly, and mitochondria don't come out very clearly, having checked with a biologist. So that's that page. And then we've got a nice one where we label the microscope. It's worth 10 marks. I shouldn't imagine they're going to give away 10 marks in an exam out of 60 for that. You're just going to be expected to label some of these, but we've got them all down there. Again, I'm not going to go through it. Pause the video and have a look if you wish. And then it got these actions of what you would do to prepare a slide, and then you need to put them in order. So the order is D, F, C, B, G, A, E. Again, I'm not going to read through them because it's going to take too long. Okay, next question. What is a specialized cell? It's a cell that's adapted to do a particular job or a particular function. Okay. She collects some cells from a male pig. And what is the job of the sperm cell? Well, the main job, its main purpose, is to fertilize that egg and to transfer half of the male genes along into that egg. The egg contains the other half of those genes. So it's got 23 chromosomes, and then the egg will have 23 chromosomes. It's worth 1 mark, but you can have either of these, and you could have a function of it being swimming to the egg cell. But these are the main 2. Write about 2 parts of the sperm that help it do its job. Well, it's got a tail, so it helps it to swim. It's got a large number of mitochondria. Remember, mitochondria is the place, I don't know why that's frozen there. Mitochondria is the place where respiration occurs, so that gives the cell energy. It's going to need a lot of energy because of the size of that sperm. It's got a long way to swim to that egg. So the mitochondria is found in this midsection, but for this level you don't really need to know that. But it's worth knowing that the head, the tip of the head, contains an enzyme that breaks down the egg membrane. Okay, so it tries to get into that egg, and it uses that enzyme to break down that membrane. By the way, an egg will only allow 1 sperm inside, and then it does something to shut that membrane down, which is very interesting. The sperm cells swim to the egg and join with them. Which statement best describes differentiation? Now, differentiation is when we talk about differentiation in cells, differentiation is talking about specific jobs You might have heard teachers talk about differentiation in their lessons. It just means, so differentiation in lessons just means giving different tasks to different learners or different abilities. So this differentiation, different, the word different. So you can get from that word the meaning different. So these different cells doing different jobs. So an undifferentiated cell is something that doesn't have a job yet. So what it's looking for is a differentiated cell. And I've put 4 because the identical cells start to develop into different types of cells. And that's all that is, that differentiated cell. Which statement describes the cells that are unspecialized, so undifferentiated? I've said 3 because each egg cell grows into a ball of identical cells. So that means they've not really got a particular job to do yet. They're just doing that cell division as identical cells. This question then, another one on specialized cell. This is a root hair cell. Name the part labeled A. This is one big vacuole. So the root hair cell, the name root suggests it's in the ground. It's one of the plant's roots. It's not going to have any chlorophyll because there's no sun can't get underground because obviously you've got the dirt. So it's not. So it hasn't evolved to have chloroplasts. So it's got a large vacuole because it needs to, via the process of osmosis, it needs to absorb water from and nutrients from the soil, and that's where this cell sap comes from. Then, that the vacuole contains. There we are, contains cell sap, and it keeps the cell rigid. It pushes against that outer, the inner membrane, and even the outer wall. How is it specialized and adapted to its function? Well, it's got a massive surface area. Okay, it's got a really large surface area, and that maximizes the absorption then. So the bigger the surface area, the more places for that water to absorb into the cell. Look at the statements in the table below, and then I think it wants to write the number corresponding to the statement that relates to the following terms. So this is about organization now within an organism. A group of similar cells in a similar function, well, that's going to be a tissue. Comprised of several tissues performing a specific function, that's going to be an organ. Tissues and organs working together to perform a specific function, that's going to be organ system. And then the basic unit that makes up all organisms is the mere cell. This one then, study the diagram of a muscle. Explain whether the sample is an example of a tissue, organ, or organ system. I've said it's a tissue because these cells, they've got a similar structure and they're all working together to perform a particular function. So you can see that it's not a cell, but it's many cells together all having a similar function there, and they all got the similar structure. So it's going to be a tissue. Explain the difference between the heart and circulatory system in terms of levels of organization. And these levels of organization is the basic is cell, and then we've got a tissue, and then we've got an organ, and then we've got an organ system until we get to organism. So to answer that question for 4 marks, I've said the heart is an organ. That means it's composed of different tissues, all working together to perform a particular job. The circulatory system, on the other hand, is composed of organs, such as the heart, and tissues working together to perform a particular job. So in terms of organization, it's a bigger organization than the heart. The heart is just using tissues. The circulatory system is using organs and tissues. So it might even use more than one organ. So the digestive system uses more than one organ to carry out its job. Another root hair cell. I thought it was the same page then. Oxygen moves in the root hair cell by diffusion. What does the term diffusion mean? Well, diffusion, and we need to know this off by heart, it is a substance move from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration. It'll never change. It's been the same in education for years. So just learn it high to low, high to low. Osmosis as well is the other one that's high to low, but that is the movement of water, and you've also got to remember through a partial permeable membrane with water. Name the gas that is going, let's have a look. The diagram shows the alveoli in the lungs. The dotted line shows the movement of the gas. So it's coming from the alveoli into the bloodstream. So that's going to be oxygen, okay? We're not going to be getting rid of oxygen because there's going to be more oxygen. There we are. This next question. There's going to be more oxygen inside this alveoli than in the bloodstream. So oxygen is diffusing from the alveoli into the blood from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration in the blood. Let's just move this up. Explain how to the adaptations in the alveoli enable it to perform its functions. Well, it's for 2 marks, but I've put 3 here. They've got a large surface area. Remember me saying that take a punt with large surface area anytime it asks you anything, not just alveoli. If it's asking how something's adapted to perform its function, 99% of the time, large surface area is going to be one of them. So just whack it down. Take a punt. It's only 1 cell thick, which means it's very thin, and it's got a moist surface.